Hello and welcome. So, what you can see here is an argument that is being made by the consumer, okay? And the question says that the reasoning that is given here is most vulnerable to criticism on the grounds that the argument, and then you have the options. So basically, what you've been told is that this argument is vulnerable to criticism, okay? And why is it vulnerable to criticism? Because it has a defect, because it has a weakness, and we have to identify that weakness, and that will be the answer, okay? So let's read the argument and see as to what the defect or the weakness is, and then we'd be able to find the answer. Okay, so it says that now when you look at the argument here, you can see some names. For example, you can see the name here, you can see this name here, you can see this name here. Just replace them by their first alphabets. Okay, it makes life simple. For example, you can just call it the report. Okay, you can ignore the first name. Likewise, you can call this simply O. You can call this simply D. Okay, it makes it easier for you to draw anything and also to think about it. Okay, so it says that the latest report suggests that O prepackaged meals are virtually devoid of nutritional value. Okay, but the report is commissioned by D, Omkar's largest corporate rival, and early drafts of the report are submitted for approval to D's public relations department. Because of the obvious bias of this report, it is clear that O's prepackaged meals really are nutritious. Okay, let's look at it. Let's look at what's happening here, okay? It says that the report says that O's food, like the food made by O, is not nutritious. Let me just call it not good, okay? Just for the sake of simplicity. That the food of O is not good according to this report. But then it goes on to say that the report is made and approved by D. Report is made by D, okay? And D is a rival of O, okay? And since it's a rival of O, there has to be a bias. And so it says that, hey, since there is a bias, it means that this report is wrong, and that the food is actually good, okay? Now, what's the problem in here? Look, you might have someone who is biased and someone who may be a rival, okay? But that doesn't mean that the report is wrong, okay? It doesn't mean, so it's possible that O was actually not good and they don't like him because of the bias, and they say it is not good, right? So you cannot infer from the bias. What's happening here is that the bias has been made the basis for saying that the report is wrong, right? You can't conclude that, right? So this, in my opinion, is the vulnerability of the criticism, okay? Now let's go ahead and see what the options are like. So we're looking for the option that connects bias or rivalry to falsehood of the report, right? And when you look at the options, the answer is really clear. You can just look at the answer as option A. It says, treats evidence that there is an apparent bias as evidence that the report's claims are false. So there is evidence for bias, right? But there is no evidence for falsehood, and it is treating the evidence of bias as the evidence for false reports, okay, for false claims. So A is the answer. You can look at the other options. You can see that they're not quite right, okay?